got pockets on fold. They got blowing around, I lose Cadillac. Still got my homies to watch my back and to smoke your ass. And when I come jack, that's why some pigs and the kids come sweating. They follow. Hollow point chills hard to swallow. Why wallow when they come to roll on it with the clip in the bluff? I break your head sign. Not kicking dust, kizzy, they get bust. My crib surrounded, I'm about to get rushed. A brush with that. How many shells left in my closet? Where my back roll nice flat when the shit goes down. Better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. When the shit goes down. When the shit goes down. You better be ready. You better be ready. I told the boys to start our blacks and the rest of the guys I strap on the bulletproof vest. Boom, I think I got one to that test. Hot damn, I didn't want to kill a man. Shit, still stand tall with the Hill Clan. Y'all, you better step back. You better fall. I'm coming up blasting like a Simony Sam. I got the cheese and the bread for them. Shit goes down. You better be ready. The shit goes down.
The following show features stupid opinions and ideas from two idiot brothers who probably did little research and practiced zero due diligence on the topic at hand. The developers' opinions do not reflect the views of their employer, guests, sponsors, families, neighbors, or pets. If you do not like what they are saying and don't agree with their views or opinions, don't watch the show. We can promise we do not care. Welcome to the worst show on the internet.
Thursday morning.
Hey.
Hi, Isaac. Happy Thursday morning.
Happy Thursday morning. What's going on?
Hi, everybody. I just hit Youngstown with wait. Let me hit you. You want me to piss them off?
Do it.
Youngstown.
So thank you everybody for joining us. Today we have the guys from over at Youngstown Mob. I apologize up front if you hear me huffing and puffing. I'm sick over here, but thank you for tuning in. If you are watching tonight, it is currently 9 a.m. on Thursday, November 2nd. So if you're watching tonight, this is a replay. So if you comment and we don't see it, sorry, but we will not have a show tonight. It is 9 a.m. right now so that we could get our guests in. But thank you for tuning in, however you're tuning in. And Luke, do we have any sponsors or anything?
Yeah. Average Gym in Campbell, Ohio. Is sponsoring us for the month.
Average Joe's.
They play basketball, volleyball, pickleball.
I heard dodgeball's coming.
Kickball, not dodgeball. And I play in their league with my son Lucas. It's so much fun. It's cheap. It's like $10 for an hour. You get refs. You get a league. You can get a team. Average Joe's. Maludic Live kind of helps or runs it with Jared. Yeah. Jared and stuff. So if you were looking for a fun league to do, it's like they'll schedule around your schedule, and I still think I'm freaking good at basketball. So
cool. All right, you want to bring
the boys here, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, but no, stop that. Johnny and James.
What's up, brother?
The two most Italian names we've ever had on our podcast: Chechitelli and Naples. I don't think you get any more Italian than that. Are you both Italian?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Dan knew that, Isaac. I figured that out. So
good call, dude. Good call.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So tell us about you. We've always I feel like I know your show. I know some of the stuff you do. I've heard of you guys. I've heard of the podcast. I've watched the podcast a couple times, been in the group, all that stuff. And it was like, okay. Then Johnny reached out to us to help get the word out on your event. I was like, awesome. This is a great opportunity. So let's meet the guys here. So Johnny, where are you from? What do you do? All that fun stuff.
Hey, what's up, guys? I grew up in Austintown, actually. So I've been in the Mahoning Valley, born and raised. I went off to film school when I was like 18, moved out to California, spent over a decade out there working in the film industry, movies, TV, I was a writer for a lot of sports shows, things like that. And made my way back to Youngstown, baby. And it was you know, something, right? What's the line on The Godfather? Pulled me back in, right? You know, so you know, back in Youngstown, and you know, of course, hooked up with my man James here. James, tell him about yourself.
Yeah, James.
Yeah, lifelong resident of Youngstown here. My family's been here since early 1900s. You know, I've been married 22 years, got 4 kids. So definitely a busy guy. I grew up as a kid. When I was young, I really didn't know much about the mob until I got older, maybe about 8 or 9 years old. I started to realize kind of, what my dad's side of the family, what they did for a living.
I was going to say that the Naples name comes up a lot, right? Every time you hear about a mob story in Youngstown, right?
Well, through the research that Johnny and I have done, my family's, history in that life goes back to the late 1920s.
Yeah.
All the way up through when Joey gets killed in 91.
Right.
That's quite a long time,
And then, so while we're talking about, because I was going to ask the question, obviously. So it was your dad, like your dad was in it. It was involved in the mob. Like, how did it work? How's Joey?
No. So my dad wasn't involved in the mob. It would have been my grandfather and his brothers. So it would have been my great uncles.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it fell. They always tried to keep my dad out of it, of course. There's FBI documents where they're watching my grandfather's house and they talk about my dad outside washing his GTO and all this other stuff. But they tried to keep my dad out of it. That's not to say that my dad, he knew some of the guys in Pittsburgh.
Right.
He would go down there on weekends and hang out with them guys and party with them guys. So he did know some of the guys down there.
And you had mentioned your uncle Joey. Where did he die? Where did he get killed at?
He was the one that got killed out in Beaver Township. The house he was having
out right down the road from where I'm living now. Yeah.
And honest to God, I've told this before on our podcast. So that was on not Lincoln.
It was off of Lynn Road, right?
Lynn Road.
Yeah, Lynn Road.
We
right
lived.
Off New Buffalo.
This is before Isaac was born. Obviously, we lived. Right. So I was like 11 or 12. We lived on New Middletown Road, which is supposedly where the assassin parked his car and walked across the field. So I was like 11, and we got interviewed by the FBI guys if we had seen anything or done anything and all that. So there were helicopters. I mean, as an 11-year-old, you don't forget that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It was crazy. So yeah, that's always my tie into that. It's right down the road. So
yeah.
Well, funny thing is they've actually kind of reinvigorated that investigation into his death. Beaver Township's reopened the case back up. It's never it's never officially been closed, but they kind of reopened it. They're taking a fresh look at it. There was some information that a private investigator, a friend of ours, he had dug up some new information, and then of course some new FBI documents have been released just recently when they were surveilling him like the months prior to him getting killed. So there was a lot of information that's just come out. So it's kind of reinvigorated that case, and we're hoping that we can solve it.
That's correct.
We do some other stuff too. We do a lot of cold case, kind of projects that we got in development that we're working on. And it's funny that we talked to some of these cops and they got kind of interested in this stuff again. I think our interest might have reinvigorated them. I hope.
Yeah.
But the Joey Naples case is the only cold case in Beaver Township. The history of it. It's the only
really.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No kidding. Wow, that's yeah. I mean, it was pretty obvious what happened. Like, I think they have it nailed. They don't know who did it. Obviously, they have their ideas from what I've read about.
For those that don't know, why did they take him out?
That's the big question, man. I'll let Jim go in a second, but I'll say this. At that time, Joey was very, very powerful within the Pittsburgh family. And by all accounts, even in those FBI files that he was just mentioning, they were surveilling him in the months that led up to that. And one of the underboss of the Pittsburgh family just went to prison at that time. And, he got sentenced, I think, for like 20 years or something, Chucky Porter. And that would have put Joey in a pretty good position to level up to go up. So there's a lot of theories out there, but what do you say, James?
Yeah, it's let me start with this first. So there's a lot of rumor and innuendo that had gone around from some of the other guys that were affiliated with Lenny Strollo and yeah. There's a few people that tried to say that Joey was a rat and he was an informant, he was this, he was that. Johnny can attest to it going all the way back into the 60s. The Naples family had an FBI agent basically on the payroll.
Right.
So to kind of jump to that claim, depends on what your point of view is, I guess, of it.
Yeah.
But at the time that he got killed, he was under 3 federal investigations. He was, and these were tied to like the Philadelphia mob. They were tied to Scranton, PA. They were tied to upstate New York. So there was a bunch of different families that were involved in these investigations. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that a guy would be an informant and then be under 3 separate federal investigations, right? One was for waste hauling business with a guy by the name of Billy D'Elia, which is funny. He just released a book and come out and said that Joey was killed by Ernie Biandello, which, I mean, that's kind of laughable to me, but, in that world, you never know. People hold grudges for crazy things, but
Ernie B was like considered Joey's kind of right-hand man, at that time.
Okay.
So, for me to think that would hold water, maybe not so much, especially with the story that he gave about it. Anybody that knew Joey was like a real clean fanatic, constantly washing his hands, OCD. That was one of the reasons why he was at the house that night. He would actually go after they would work and he would clean up like the sawdust and, the dust and dirt and debris. He would clean all that up because he was such a, neat fanatic with his OCD. So, but for me, I kind of fall in that line with the theory that Johnny had. It's possible that, the number one motive was because he was going to be the next boss and somebody didn't, underboss, and somebody didn't want him in that position.
There was definitely a fissure there, with Lenny Strollo's guys and Joey's guys. And if you listen to, the Crooked City show, the podcast, there's a split there where Lenny's guys hated Joey's guys and Joey's guys did not like Lenny's guys. So when Lenny Strollo went to prison for running the All-American Club Casino in Camel, Joey was not touched in that. And that's where some of those rumors came from, that he's, maybe he's an FBI informant and this and that. Well, no, Strollo got pinched and got busted. Joey was able to not get arrested in that. And so Lenny's guys then had this resentment and it was back and forth. So the FBI believes that it was Strollo and Strollo's people that took him out. So it's just never really been proven.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The held belief on that is that it was Bernie Altschuler, or Bernie the Jew, as a lot of people know him, that he was the one that actually gave the order for it. And there's been rumors about who's involved. There's people that say, the Dinzio brothers were involved. There's people that say that Bobby Pogan was involved. There's people that say there was guys from Pittsburgh. There's, so there's all these rumors and theories and thoughts and ideas, and we've been working to try to, kind of look at all these theories and try to disprove them. And I think that's kind of where law enforcement is right now, along with it too. They're kind of taking each of these theories and saying, hey, what's plausible, what's not, what can they cross off? And I think that's probably how you're going to solve this case.
But real quick, don't forget that mob killings, especially in Youngstown, rarely solved by law enforcement, right?
Yeah.
They go back. I mean, Joey's brothers, Jim's great uncles, his other 2 great uncles were also killed in mafia turf wars there, Sandy Naples and Billy Naples. So all 3 of his grandfather's brothers were killed in mob strife. So, and they were all unsolved.
Wow. And then, so with them being unsolved, I mean, that's crazy. Like you think about, so you're related to them. I immediately think about like the family, you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
They're mobsters, right? They're bad guys. They were stealing, they were killing, they were doing this stuff, but you still have family there. And it's like, that's tough, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what?
My grandfather, he passed 6 months after Joey got killed. And my theory with that was the man died of a broken heart. I mean, he watched 3 of his brothers get killed.
Yeah.
And so part of me doing this is we as a family, we need to kind of have a little bit of closure, right?
Yeah.
That's my goal. There's not too many of us left in my family other than, say, my father. The older generation, they're just about all gone.
Yeah.
So it's mostly my dad and his cousins that are still around. But I think at some point there has to be a little bit of closure, and I'm hoping that we can maybe get some of that.
Yeah.
With the work that Johnny and I have done and some of the notes and things like that, for example, we kind of know who killed Sandy and why, right?
Right.
Even though it's never been solved, it's never been proven in a court of law. We can, we can sit down and we can say, as far as we're concerned, this is why it happened. This is who did it, right?
Right.
Same with Billy. We have a good idea of what happened. That one's a little bit fuzzier, say, than the Sandy murder, but we still have a good idea of why it happened.
Yeah.
And same with even with the Cavallero bombing, we have a really good idea of why it happened. We have a pretty good idea of who it was, and we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. Isaac, what do you want to say?
I just want to say my dad always said this. I like the history part, and this is our father. I like the history part, dislike making those gangsters out to be heroes or idols. You say you want closure, James. It's interesting is we have a great uncle who was gambling downtown. Everybody called him Uncle Casino.
That was his name. It was Casino Campolito. You can look up
Campolito. So gambling downtown.
No, I'm sorry. Casino de Vincent. Yeah.
Okay. Gambling downtown with in interacting with the mob, obviously. And then I guess he lost some money or something. I don't know. It's like I said, great uncle lost some money or something. And then I think it's in the newspapers. He was.
Oh, you can find it's in the Vindicators.
He was like marching downtown, like protesting, like, "Hey, I lost. They cheated me. They cheated me out of money. They cheated me out of money." And
not a good idea.
Then he just disappeared somewhere. It's probably somewhere in the bottom of the Mahoning, but there are people who are affected in plenty of different ways that would like closure from this.
Yeah, so. Literally, I've done some research in like the archives of the Vindicator, and there are like three or four articles. Like one article is Casino de Vincent came back from the war, and then Casino de Vincent went to the news and was like telling them what happened. He lost all his money, got ripped off, and then like Casino de Vincent is holding up signs outside the establishment, and then like 2 days later, it was Casino de Vincent's family is looking for him. He's gone, and they're pretty sure he got killed by them. I mean, it's unbelievable, like the time. Of it. So yeah, and I'm sure there's got to be other stories out there of families.
Right. Let's take a step back though. You guys, let's come back to you guys. So you came back from California, Johnny, and then you guys linked up. How quickly did you guys link up and start doing this? And like, what did it start as? And tell us the story of how this grew into what it is now.
Oh gosh, we were aware of each other. I produced a documentary when I was in California called Youngstown Still Standing. And, it was talked about the steel, the sports, and the mob, the three things Youngstown was big on.
Yeah.
And James was also working on some things here in Youngstown. He had a company called Briar Hill Productions, and he had done a history of the Naples brothers and put that out there. So, we kind of knew of each other just through the circles that we were doing and we're running in. And then all of a sudden we started working together actually at a day job. We ended up working together, and it's funny when James got hired. It was at WKBN when James got hired. The person that hired him said, "Hey, I just hired your friend. I just hired your friend." And I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Jim Naples." I go, "I never actually met him." At that point, we never met, but they just assumed that we were friends, and of course, we became really good friends just working together. And at the time, I was working for another company as well out of New York, producing this show, Crooked City, this podcast. And, that was like almost a 2-year thing, right? Just the whole timeline of how long it took to get that podcast made. And I was telling Jim about it, and we were talking, we have this kind of mutual interest. I've been researching this stuff for 20 years, legitimately 20 years. And James has been researching it most of his adult life, so we have this mutual kind of interest in the subject. And, James brought up the idea. Well, first of all, we started talking about when this podcast comes out, hopefully it catches an audience and people kind of also get renewed interest in the subject. And, James had the idea. He said, let's start a Facebook group. Tell them about that, James.
Yeah. So it was in February, and this was probably 2021. And we were outside talking, and I said, let's start this Facebook group up and just, see what we can do. It'll be a good place for us to, start putting some content up there and, people tell some stories. And, we started it, and I never imagined that it would grow as fast as it did. That first year, I mean, it was like 1,000 here, 2,000 here, 3,000 here. And you look now, we're almost at 31,000 members.
That's awesome.
So, to have a group like that, it's because of the members, to be honest with you.
Right.
The content that they post, and, the discussions that we have in there, they're just phenomenal. The people around here, I mean, we have a fascination with gangsters in this country, especially when it comes to, like the mafia. There's a huge fascination with it. Just look at all the groups that are on Facebook. You have the Philly Mob, the Gangland Wire, you have the Cleveland Mayfield group, our Pittsburgh Mob group, which we also run. So, you have all these groups, and it's just, there's so much content out there. I think a lot of people don't realize these guys, their connections, some of these guys, their connections were nationwide. It's just like any other fraternity or organization. It just so happens this one was an Italian-American organization of criminals,
Right.
But this group is just, it's become, amazing for Johnny and I. It's opened some doors for us to do some other things that we want to do, like the cold cases and things like that. And we have some other huge projects we'd like to do. And that's part of why we do these big live shows.
Yeah.
Is because we're trying to jumpstart some of the other bigger stuff that we need to do. That, like movies and things, television shows. Those are things that we're, kind of working on right now.
And while we're talking about the Facebook group, I just got to say, first of all, I didn't even know what a Facebook group was. When he brought up that, when he brought up the idea to do a group, I said, I didn't know what that was. I said, sure, let's try it. Yeah. And then we did it. And at first it was like, okay, people started listening to Crooked City. So they started like searching for Youngstown Mob. And I think that's how they were finding us. As James mentioned, there's a big fascination with the mob, right? And whether it's The Godfather, or Goodfellas, or where that comes from, in Youngstown, I think more so than most places.
It's because it's our history, right? I mean, it's us. You know what I mean? It's where we came from.
I did a little research, and according to the census, this area, the Mahoning Valley, has the most Italians from here to Cleveland. There's the most Italians, people of Italian heritage, than any other place in the country outside of the New York, New Jersey combination.
No shit. I didn't know
it's
that.
right here. It's so concentrated. And so because of that, and because of the mob history in Youngstown, everybody's got a cousin or something that they are somehow connected to it, where, like you mentioned, there was a gambler in your family.
Yeah, great uncle,
or whatever. But it's very rooted in Youngstown. And people, as your dad said, he likes to, they don't want to make an idol out of the gangsters, right?
Right.
But I'll tell you this, I agree. We try not to, do that in any specific way or anything like that. But the overwhelming majority of our people in our group, they tell us every day, every week, it's always, we hear the same thing. It was so much better when the mob ran Youngstown.
Right.
We hear that a lot. And my personal belief on that is they're nostalgic for the past, right? Sometimes you look at history in rose-colored glasses, right? So it's the steel mills were booming, the economy was good, the town was making money, people were happy, it was good life. That's what they miss right now, as opposed to no jobs and all the crime and all that stuff. So but we definitely hear every week.
Right.
It was
it goes to show that Youngstown is either still crooked or just super incompetent.
Well,
or a little bit of both.
We went from mobsters to freaking politicians. What's worse?
Right.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
Let me explain that to you. So it is kind of nostalgia, right? But at the same time, when you had when those guys were around, they kept the politicians in line.
Yeah.
Right. For the most part. Don't get me wrong. These guys did some bad things. But it seems like that's kind of what everybody talks about, all the bad things, right? Nobody ever talks about the good things. There's a lot of good things these guys did too. I mean, think about all the cash that they spread around. They couldn't save it. They couldn't put it in the bank because then the IRS could track it. So what did they do? They would spend it. They'd give it to people. One quick story I'll tell you. When I was a little kid, I used to go with my grandfather. We used to go up. There used to be a Sparkle Market up on Gypsy Lane. It's where the Save-A-Lot is now.
Yeah.
And we used to go up there every week, and we would buy all the ingredients for St. Anthony's to make the Briar Hill pizzas. And we'd take all the ingredients down there. We'd help them unload them. They would make the pizzas. We would come in on Friday, and they'd give my grandfather 15, 20 pizzas, right? And then he would take the pizzas, and he would go around town to different places and drop pizzas off. He was going down to the water department. He'd bring them like 3 pizzas, and people would be like, "Who is this guy?" They'd be like, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's Jinx. He's been doing that for 50 years, And
don't worry about it. That's James. Classic.
But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Eat your pizza.
Right. I mean, that's how those guys work, though. Do you guys remember the Youngstown Pride games?
Yeah, of course.
Do you remember the gentleman who used to do like with the hand gestures up in the top behind the basket, right?
Super fan.
Yeah. So my Uncle Joey would provide meals for them on holidays, and he'd send gifts to the house, and they had gifts for the kids and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's none of that's the stuff nobody talks about. Everybody wants to hear about the guts and the shootings and the explosions and all that. And I think that gets overlooked that, these guys were just like everybody else. The only difference was the business that they were in. Right.
Yeah.
And most of those things that they got into, other than like your vices, like your gambling, your prostitution, those type of things, most of the businesses that they got into was stuff that normal people would bring them, trying to get an edge over in whatever they were doing. Right.
Right.
And so they've just figured, hey, these guys have financed me. They're not going to say nothing because of what they do on, with their other profession. So, and that's a lot of it. And I think sometimes a lot of people overlook those things.
Yeah.
We kind of forget those things, and we just want to put them in this place. This is what they do. This is who they are. And that's not always necessarily true either.
Right.
Johnny, let's go back to you.
Sure.
And let's discuss your time and what you did with Crooked Youngstown, because you said you guys were hoping that would blow up in Youngstown. That thing, everybody was talking about it. I binged it on my way to the Outer Banks. I remember listening to the whole thing in the car and just being pumped. So it was really good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it got as high as I think top 5 shows or top 10 shows, top 5 true crime on Apple Podcasts for a stretch.
Hell yeah.
So it was awesome. It was really, kind of catching an audience, which is great. I had, like I mentioned, I've been researching this stuff for 20 years. I was out in LA. I was pitching channels like FX, scripted shows about Youngstown, over a decade ago. And I just couldn't catch on out there. People just didn't know Youngstown. They really didn't understand it. And, it kind of struck out a little bit with trying to pitch it. So eventually when I moved back, I started working on a podcast ideas and things like that. And all of a sudden, just kind of, through networking and getting my name out there in certain regards, Mark Smerling got in touch with me. Mark was the narrator of that show.
Yeah,
he's the main producer.
Awesome, by the way.
Yeah. He's pretty big. He's got shows on HBO and he's done a lot in true crime. So he reached out and said, do you want to do it? I said, yeah, absolutely. So we started on that. I was actually the first person they brought on, they hired for that show. And we worked, like I said, it was probably almost about 2 years altogether. But just a lot of, knocking on doors, getting interviews, getting introduced to this person, to that person, going to the prison, talking to this person, going here, going there. And just a lot of sifting through all that tape, that old tape that you hear, the old news clips and all that.
Yeah.
That was me in a room, with decades of old tape.
I couldn't imagine how long that took. I could not imagine how long that took.
And it was, thankfully it came out, very well, very proud of it. And it's opened a door now for James and I to do our show. We do a show called Youngstown Mob Talk, which is, now available anywhere you get podcasts. We have it's video on YouTube, but we also have just audio only now too. We do one called The Vice Squad with Rick Porrello and Vince Guerreri. Rick wrote the book and the movie Kill the Irishman about Danny Green.
Great movie too.
So we got a show that we do with him. Those are different styles than Crooked City. I actually just produced a show that we're about to release, and it's called Operation Stolen Base, which is much more in line, kind of like Crooked City was in the style. So we're experimenting with different styles of podcasts, and it's kind of actually opened a door for these live shows. Once we kind of caught on with the Youngstown Mob Group and our Mob Talk show, the Robbins Theater reached out to us late last year and asked us to do a live show on the stage at Robbins.
Wow.
And James and I said, yeah, sure, we'll give that a shot. Well, we sold the place out.
Yeah.
And we had our first live show, first thing like that we ever did. And now we're finally following it up here later in the year with our first one in Youngstown at the Stambaugh Auditorium. That's Friday, November 10th. So next Friday, called a week from tomorrow, called Youngstown Mob Talk presents CavBOMB, which is a special themed show that we're doing. And we really hope you guys will show up. Everybody will come out to this show. If you don't know, in 1962, there was a very infamous car bombing on the north side of Youngstown. The target was a racketeer named Cadillac Charlie Cavallero. And he was a big mobster, a longtime mobster in Youngstown, but he had a long history in Pittsburgh, New York, Cleveland, those areas, Detroit. Well, he was a big name in Youngstown. And when he was killed in 62, it was the end of a 2-year mafia turf war that unfortunately took the lives of two of James's great uncles. So Sandy and Billy Naples were killed in this war from 1960 to 1962. And guys like Vince De Niro were blown up. So some big names in Youngstown were killed. But when Cadillac Charlie was killed, there was a bomb planted in his car. And unfortunately, his 2 young sons were in the car with him.
Ooh.
And he was taking them to football practice. It was the day after Thanksgiving. And he was taking them to football. And the car blew up. And it killed Charlie. It killed his 11-year-old son, Tommy. And his 12-year-old son survived with horrific lifelong injuries, maimed for life. And the outrage, not only in the public, but in the mafia itself, was, the hammer came down after that.
Yeah.
The Attorney General, Bobby Kennedy, personally sent dozens of FBI guys into Youngstown. He said, this is enough. This is after, keep in mind, there were over 80 unsolved bombings in Youngstown in the prior decade.
The old Youngstown tune-up, Isaac.
Right.
So now most of those weren't car bombs. Most of those were like little bombs on your porch, your intimidation, right? To try to strong arm people. But they became deadly at the end of the 50s. And then from 1959 to 1962, several big name guys were blown up. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, the Cavalleros, Charlie and his 2 sons were in the car when that bombing happened. Well, here we are now, over 60 years later, and we've got this Facebook group, and we're doing content, we're making podcasts, and all of a sudden I see a name show up on our list of new members, and it's Charlie Cavallero. And I said, that can't be. That can't be.
Yeah.
And it was. It was Charlie. It was Charlie Jr. And he ended up striking up a conversation. He actually was kind of he was a listener. He was a fan of what we were doing, of the stuff we were telling. And we asked him. We said, would you ever consider talking about your story? And he of course he wanted to think about that, and to run it by his family first. He's got children, and he got back to me and he said yes. Now this is crazy, guys, because he later told me that every big name network has approached him over the years to tell this story, and he's always declined. And here he is telling us the story for the first time. Awesome. So as also in our group, we had an FBI guy join the group, retired FBI agent who got in touch with us. He worked the case, the Cavallero bombing case.
Wow.
He's the last one alive to work that case.
Yeah.
And we just thought, wow, this is kind of, serendipitous, right? It's all organic that these things are kind of happening. These guys, found us. And we decided, you know what? We want to do another live show. Let's do something big. Let's do a show on this case. And the FBI, when Bobby Kennedy sent in all those FBI agents to Youngstown, they opened an investigation that they codenamed CavBOMB for Cavallero bombing.
Yeah.
And we now have hundreds of these FBI documents from this case that we got through Freedom of Information Act requests, as well as many of them were publicly released in the JFK assassination files. They were all in that group. So we've got the FBI files. We've got an FBI agent who worked the case. We've got the sole survivor of the bomb itself. And we've got, that's all for our show on Friday, November 10th, called CavBOMB at the Stambaugh Auditorium. Awesome. Get your tickets now, guys. It's at call the box office or go to StambaugHauditorium.com.
That is so sweet.
We're also real quick. I got to put this out. Sorry, Luke. We're doing a dinner. James, tell them about the dinner.
Yeah, so we got this VIP dinner. It's going to be awesome. We're bringing in Jimmy Mullador from Las Vegas. Jimmy Mullador is a Briar Hill original. He's a Youngstown original. He moved out to Vegas in the 50s, and he's been out there ever since. He's played with Sinatra, the Rat Pack, Elvis Presley, Barbra Streisand, Bobby Darin. I mean, just a who's who of Vegas entertainers, right? And he's been out there all this time. He's a world-renowned musician. He plays, I believe it's like 5 or 6 different instruments. But he also grew up with the Naples brothers. He was, he played football with Joey and Billy, and he used to wash Sandy's car for him. And so he's going to come and he's going to talk about his time growing up with the Naples brothers, and the things that he considers them family. We are actually cousins by marriage. But Jimmy does consider, those guys like family. He calls them family. Anytime he ever needed anything, they were always there and always helped him out. And I'm sure he'll get into some of those stories, which they're pretty interesting. Huh, Johnny?
What do we?
Yeah, it's guys. This guy wrote a book about his life. I mean, he's all of his exploits. He kind of, he had a lot of girlfriends over the years, and a lot of them were very famous actresses. So he's got some great stories. But
not bad.
Yeah, no, he's hosting our VIP dinner before the show. That's also at the Stambaugh Auditorium.
What are we talking? What are we talking for dinner? Spaghetti, meatballs.
Peppers, like Italian sausage and peppers.
Right? Yeah, we're doing.
Gabagool.
We picked, the Stambaugh had some options, and we said, well, it's got to be a pasta dinner. So we can't do anything but the pasta dinner. So.
The red sauce.
I actually have the video that you guys sent me. You want me to play that real fast? A little trailer.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let me throw that up here real fast.
In 1962, the mafia car bombing of Cadillac Charlie Cavallero and his 2 young sons rocked the city of Youngstown and rattled the nation. Over 60 years later, for the first time ever, the sole survivor of the bombing, Charlie Cavallero Jr., and a former FBI agent who worked the case, will break it all down with Youngstown mob talk, plus a VIP dinner before the show. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime event. CavBOMB, Friday, November 10th. Tickets available now at StambaAuditorium.com.
Good job. Yeah, dude. That looks amazing. So you can get VIP tickets to go to. I have people messaging me on Facebook saying, I already got tickets. Got tickets. Like for the VIP stuff. So I said, that's a great idea.
How'd you pick out the guy for that trailer? Did you like just line up, hey, I need somebody who's super Italian? Like, who's the most Italian guy I know?
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. I didn't have to look far, right? So I just happened to ask one person, and immediately they were like, "I know, we got a guy. So they immediately passed his name on, and
damn, I know a guy who looks just like the Penguin from Batman.
What's funny is that's John Latanzi, and he showed up and he had this mustache, and I said, "Hey, do me a favor. We got to shave the mustache." First time in 40 years he shaved his mustache.
Wow.
That is a big deal for a man who's had
Hold on. I have the let's throw the flyer up here too. So here's the flyer. Again, it's November 10th, the CavBOMB, Stamba Auditorium, 7 p.m. special VIP dinner. How much are tickets? What are we talking here?
They range, from $35, up to like $100. So it's different levels. Check it out, guys. We really just hope, we fill this place up, because the big thing is this is our history. You mentioned it, Luke. This is our history, right?
Yeah.
This is Youngstown history. You see this stuff in movies. You see this stuff, you hear about this New York gangsters all the time. How many times have you heard Al Capone and the Chicago gangsters, even Las Vegas? But this stuff happened in Youngstown, Ohio. Specifically there's never been another case where an innocent child was killed in a mafia car bomb. And it's happened in Italy. It's never happened in America.
Wow.
Except for in Youngstown, Ohio. And as we mentioned, the case went unsolved. But all these years later, we're pretty much able to say, who, what, why, and all that stuff. So check it out.
James, did you ever go to, or did your family hang out at that restaurant that was in North Lima that's now that auction house? It's like
it's where they did the taping. It's where they taped African.
They had my Uncle Joey's bodyguard, Paulie Pinto. If you ever go to Cricket's, his family owns that bar. You'll find Paulie there.
Right.
But they had the feds had Paulie coming out, and he would get underneath the car to make sure that there was no bomb under the car, and then he would start the car.
Wow. That restaurant, the Calamar. So, and it was people always think that it's some, Italian name. Calamar is just because it's on literally at the corner of Cala and Market. Yeah. But it was Briar Hill Jimmy Prado's place. And Jimmy Prado was at that time, like the boss, right, of Youngstown. Right. He was a made guy in the Pittsburgh family. And as you mentioned, the FBI had wiretapped that place. We talk about that in Crooked City. One of the things that never made Crooked City was I had asked a former Youngstown reporter, an old reporter from WYTV named Denny Brand. And after that happened, after that they found the wiretap, Denny Brand got a tip about it. So he showed up with a news photographer, and they went down there, and all of a sudden these 2 big guys walked out, and they tapped them. And they said, "Hey, the boss wants to see you." And so they walk into the bar, they sit down, and Briar Hill Jimmy Prado comes up. And they used to call him Two Gun Jimmy as well. So Briar Hill Jimmy comes up and says, "Hey boys, what are you drinking?" And Denny said, it's like 11 in the morning, right? And he's working. He's like, "I'm not drinking anything." He says, "What are you drinking?" He goes, "Okay." So now these guys, they have to start taking some shots at the bar. And he says, he goes, it's all lies. It's all lies. And he tells him, he says, I'm a good guy. It's all lies. He calls his wife, Carmela, to come out of the kitchen. And this is all according to Denny Brand. And he says, Carmela, tell him This is all lies. I'm a good guy. She says, it's all a lie. He's a good guy. He says, okay, back to the kitchen. And she goes back to the kitchen. And he says, but he was like the most fearful thing. But that place, the Calamar, they said every politician in town, you could spot him there. And, you know, Jimmy Trafficant would come out of there a lot. And they would all deny it. They'd all deny that they'd ever, you know, that they go there. But that was the place, man.
Did you hear our story of Jimmy Trafficant? Did you hear Johnny?
No, which one's that?
Johnny,
our grandmother, McHugh, Lee McHugh was her name. Our grandfather passed away in the 90s. And then Jimmy Trafficant, my grandma, Lee McHugh, always loved, and I actually bought her house, but she always loved Jimmy Trafficant. Huge fan of Jimmy Trafficant. And then started writing him when he was in prison.
Wow.
I remember coming home or going over grandma's house, and she would talk about how she had mailed him paint supplies and they were taken away. The prison took him away from him. And then after he got out, he came and sat down and had dinner with my grandma, and they got to meet and everything. But we'll have to wait for Luke to get back. But we had another guest on who knew Jimmy Trafficant, and he would send her his paintings, right? Mm-hmm. And in every one of his paintings, he would put an M in the top right corner. Did you hear anything about this?
Oh, we have dozens of them. Oh yeah.
Right. So he puts the M in the corner. One of his buddies was like, "Oh, it's from some lady he would write." He denied it to his wife, but he put the M in the corner.
Said it was based on a poet or another artist or something like that.
Yeah, right? But my grandma's name was McHugh, and he's like, I wonder if he put M because of that girl he was talking to, and the girl was our grandma, and M for McHugh in the corner. I was like, no way, dude. I was like, I got
every one of these letters. Every one of these letters is from Jimmy Trafficant to our grandmother. I have pictures. I have that. Let's see if I could personal pictures that he wrote. Like I literally have a stack of these that he sent to our grandmother.
Hey Johnny, those look familiar.
I know we've got one of our fans donated about almost 100 to us.
Yeah,
and we've got, and most of them are like naked ladies, right?
Oh, nice.
He definitely had a favorite subject. But we love to give those out to people because he's got still such a huge fan base in the Valley, of course, and what character? I mean, Youngstown original.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy. And again, the M, I forget what they said. The M, people said the M was for, but then his insider guy Dennis Malloy, who was his assistant, said, "Dude, that's I don't care what anybody says. That M stands for your grandma." Because of their, I mean, it's again, and who knows if it's true or not? We can't back it up.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that was an insider telling us that, and I got.
And then back to the Calamar Club, honestly, or the Calamar, whatever the hell it was called. Honestly, somebody needs to get with Prima downtown because Prima's struggling so much because of the stupid construction. Have them come out to have them. Somebody needs to buy that building. Need to sit down with James Naples. And design like 50s, 60s era design mixed with modern, and then bring that building back, or just knock that building down and start over, and have us thinking Calamar Prima built like restaurant right on that corner. You know how much business that thing would get, and just try and base it off of the mob. That'd be sick.
It's funny that building. So now I believe it's an auction
house. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But there's a few of these places left. James's uncle started a place called the Center Sandwich Shop. It's known as the Center, and it's right on Wilson Avenue and Center Street, right over the bridge. It's that one tall building that's still standing strong. That's where Youngstown United Music, Joey Naples Vending Machine Company, was for the longest time, and it's still there, guys. And that building goes all the way back to even before the Naples brothers. It was Tizone's Tavern. And you guys know who Carmen Policy is?
Browns.
He was the president of the Browns, right? Yep. And the 49ers at one point.
Yep.
His son, I believe, is the president of the Green Bay Packers right now. But it was Tizone's Tavern. Tizone was his grandfather. and he was murdered right on the sidewalk there on Center and Wilson, and that building is still there. So there's plenty of those places, guys. In Youngstown.
Let's not forget about the classic what's it called? Palace in the Pines over on 422, right? That's the classic one too, also.
Still operational, guys. It's still run. Dolly, Frankie Lentine's wife, Dolly, still runs the bar.
Isaac, you know what that is?
Isn't it like a strip club or something?
Yeah. So in college, I went to Westminster College, which is right down the road. And again, fun story here. We go into the Palace in the Pines, right? And there's the front room and the back room, right? Mm-hmm. So we're in the front room at first, and my buddies are all from PA and Pittsburgh, and then we go into the back room. Now, granted, I'm hammered out of my mind. I kind of remember, kind of don't. But I remember in the back, I'm like, there's a bunch of freaking Italian guys in here, right? And I'm thinking about, this is fun, this is cool, you know what I mean? Whatever, because this is late 90s, right?
Yeah.
So I'm listening to Crimetown USA, Johnny, and it was like a revelation for me 20 years later or however, and you guys are talking about Cafe, or you're talking about Palace in the Pines and how the ball. So I call my buddy from Pittsburgh, and I'm like, dude, did you know that was a mall place when we were there? And he's like, you went into a back room, Luke, where there were a bunch of Italian guys sitting around drinking. What the hell did you think it was? And I'm like, I was drunk. I was like, and it was just mind blowing to me that I was in that place and it was so connected to the mall.
Right.
It's crazy.
So, that was where I went when I was this first strip club I ever went to when I was 18 years old. The Palace.
Yeah. That's probably around here. That's probably a place that a lot of people went to the first strip club. So
if you listen to Crooked City, Youngstown, you'll hear that some cops went there even when they weren't supposed to. So that was that story, that Mark Bacho story.
Yeah, the Bacho story. Yeah, it's unbelievable. And like you said, that is and it goes back to, like we said before, John, it goes back to the infatuation where we've all been somewhat involved and you don't even freaking realize it. Like I remember going to the Calamar. I think we went for breakfast one time. My dad Pop brought us in for breakfast, had breakfast there. I can remember that, guys walking in and out. I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is, and again, it was like 30 years later, man, I was, I knew it was a mob place. It had good freaking eggs and what do you want? I'm like, what the you bringing your 9-year-old into a freaking mob place? So,
right.
All right. And then, so again, so people are asking, where can we buy tickets?
So I'd say this, Stambaugh Auditorium's website, or the best place you can do it is the box office, guys. The Dior box office, the Stambaugh box office. It's all the same thing. They're all run by the same people. Call them 330-259-9651. That's the box office. That's the best bet. I like to, that's how I like to do it. I don't buy a lot of stuff online. I like to, either go to the box office or call. But there's, you can either go to StambaugHauditorium.com or you can call the box office.
And that's November 10th. November 10th.
Friday, November 10th. Okay. We did that specifically so there'd be no Ohio State football game. You don't got to miss the Buckeyes.
Yeah.
You don't got to miss the Browns or the Steelers. It's on a Friday night. So, come out and check it out, please.
Perfect. So again, that's there. And then, I tell you, this has been good stuff. I am so interested in this stuff. Again, it's absolutely amazing to me. And I know the Youngstown is too. I mean, look, right now we have 40 people watching. It's freaking 9:00 in the morning on a Thursday.
Right.
How many of you people right now watching are at work? You freaking
have headphones in or interacting,
like looking over their shoulder for their boss coming right now as they're typing. Right. So again, if you're watching this, do us a favor, share this. Just go over, hit the share, hit the like. We only got 11 likes and like 100 people. We've had people going in and out. Please like all this. When's your guys' show? So they can I'm going to check that out today when I go exercise. Where your podcast? I can get that online on Spotify and stuff, or what do we got?
Oh yeah, anywhere you get podcasts, guys. It's called Youngstown Mob Talk. We try to put up as many as we can. Right now we've got I can't remember exactly how many are up there right now, but we got a lot of content on there. Our YouTube has even more content. Tons of stuff on there. Even we even put up old stuff on our YouTube, like old 2020, pieces from the 80s, right? Awesome. That when they covered Youngstown and things like that. So check out our YouTube. It's youtube.com/amazing podcast company. that has all of our stuff on there. But if you just search Youngstown Mob Talk, you'll find it. And Youngstown Mob Talk, anywhere you get podcasts.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you go into the Facebook group Youngstown Mob, there's links to our YouTube channel in there, and there's also links to get tickets too in there. So check out Youngstown Mob. You'll find some great content in there, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for in there.
I tell you guys what, I want to let you. I want to give 2 tickets to your audience here. Okay. So you guys can decide how they get it, whether they got to comment something cool or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway.
I love giveaways. So 2 tickets. Let's see, what can we do, Isaac? Let's do. You want to do message us? Let's see here. How can we do it, Isaac? What do you want to do?
I don't know.
Put us on the spot here. We don't think real fast, especially.
Well, give us some time. We'll do it.
It's not. Oh yeah, let's just do it this weekend. We'll do a giveaway.
Yeah, we'll do a giveaway here, and so 2 tickets is what you want us to do.
Yeah, we'll give away 2 tickets to.
I love it.
All right, cool. Okay. We'll do that this weekend. We'll think of something and we'll do it. We'll give away 2 tickets and then we'll have them reach out to whoever you. We'll talk after about.
I want maybe people send us the best pictures of you looking like a mobster, and whoever gets it.
Right.
Whatever you guys want to do, man.
I need pictures. I need mobster picture. You dressed up like a mobster. Whoever sends us.
Not even mobster. Just most Italian-looking person.
I take exception to that because I look like my mother, who's not Italian, right? I got the freckles and
Right. Well, look Italian. I don't look Italian at all.
Yeah, right. So I look Italian. Yeah, in our family, because we're not 100%. We're German and Italian and a couple other things. And it's like I'm Italian. Isaac looks like he's from Norway.
Right. Well, it's funny because the mob, right? People always think it was you had to be Sicilian to get in, right?
Right.
That's actually not true, especially in Youngstown. There were two different groups. There were Sicilians and the Calabrese, and there were actually kind of 2 factions that came up. And there's a lot of guys who weren't Sicilian at all. Well, eventually they said you had to be 100% Italian to get in. Well, after like the 1940s and 50s, all these Italian guys started marrying non-Italian women. Right. So then they changed the rules. And they said, well, only your dad has to be Italian. And by today's standard, that's not even true anymore either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. But, it's as long as you're from Youngstown, you're probably part Italian. I got to say.
Right.
Normally the way that works for sure.
So yeah, if you're watching, send us a picture, message the MLO bros. I'm not saying just a picture of you. Like you can dress up however you want. You can show yourself making pizzelles or something. I don't know. Make yourself look Italian. The more Italian you look,
making your Sunday sauce.
Right. Making your Sunday red sauce. Whatever you want to do, you send us a picture. We'll decide if it's Italian enough, and you'll win the tickets.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Johnny and James, we appreciate you guys coming on, man. Good stuff. Good luck. I'll tell you what, I am in on Friday, November 10th, if Poland loses Friday.
Well, now you got me rooting against Poland. That's not.
Yeah, you gotta cheer for Struthers. I am in because if I don't go, my wife will not go to the game since the weather is now below 50. So I got 2 boys that have to go to those football games. You guys got. I don't know if you guys got kids or not, but this is the way of the world here. But if Struthers wins and beats Poland, I am in, and I'll buy VIP tickets. I will come eat spaghetti.
Awesome, guys.
Right. So you said cheer against Struthers or cheer against Poland, and I'll be there. All right. Well, you guys, thanks again for coming. One more time here, if you're watching, CavBOMB. It's at Standby Auditorium, 7 p.m. Special VIP dinner. You can go online, Standby Auditorium, go to Dior and buy the tickets, whatever you got to do. Mob Talk, and also, all over the internet and on Facebook and Spotify. So I'm going to check that out today when I go for my little walk around town. So
awesome, guys.
Well, appreciate you, gentlemen.
I was going to say, guys, can we have you guys back on again? This has been good.
Absolutely.
Please, absolutely.
We'll get you on at an 8:30 show when we get a whole bunch of people instead of 9 p.m. But Johnny's too busy. Johnny's big time. He said he's got a film or something like that. I was like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing. So we have one last thing for it's actually part of our show. Yeah. So we have filmed reenactments of some of these things, some of these big moments in the mob history.
Awesome.
And there's one little scene we just have to finish. So we're doing that tonight. But I appreciate you guys changing your schedule for us.
Oh, dude,
let me know. Let me know if you ever want to make a scene of Uncle Casino getting tossed in the Mahoning, and I'll dress up as my great uncle, and you guys can whack me.
You know what, Isaac? If Johnny doesn't do it, I think you and I should do it.
Right. You guys can film whacking one of us and throwing us in the Mahoning with a bunch of bricks.
And just a video you just going over a bridge.
Right. So, all right, guys. Thanks so much for watching, or thanks so much for tuning in. We'll kick you guys out here and do our little outro, and see you around, boys.
I'm gonna hold on. I love to kick it from the studio. That's right. I just assassinated him.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. If it's at night and you're watching right now, it's not at night. So just be aware of that. This was a morning recording to help our guests. Because
people are going to be commenting. Like, why won't you answer?
Right. So appreciate you so much for watching. If you're watching at night, this is a replay, obviously. But go check those guys out. Go check out Youngstown Mob. Like I said before, thank you so much for watching. The MLO Bros stands for Mortgage Loan Originator Brothers. We are loan officers. Also, check out our sponsors on our page. Also, big news coming with the MLO Bros. We are expanding to something else that's big. You won't be that surprised when we give you a breakdown of how it's going to work. So just stay tuned. Big news coming. And Luke, what else? Anything?
I'm going to go make some pit sales.
I'm gonna go make some cannolis. Some cannolis. Some pit sales.
I want to make some. I have great grandma's pit sale iron, actually.
Hell, dude, you really? That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know how
pit
I got
sale iron. And then what else?
Iron.
She'd make chocolate chip cookies like 4 times a day. Like there was always chocolate chip cookies,
meatballs. Well, great grandma, right off the boat from Italy. I mean, it was amazing.
Right. Yeah, it was awesome.
I'm gonna go do that. So that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Like we said, appreciate you watching.
Like and follow us too if you've never watched us before. We have all
stuff. Go down below over there and give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, and go like and follow the MLO Bros as well. So,
all right,
see everybody.
Yeah, I'm gonna do
next week.
Everybody do your old commercial.
Do it.
Hi, it's Isaac from the MLO Bros. Today, my nephew Lucas and I are out here handing out refinance flyers, trying to stir up some loan officer business. So we're putting them in people's mailboxes here. First house, let's see how we do.
Hey! Get out of here, you punks!
Lucas, run!
Joe Dania just texted me our first picture. It's just him putting his hands up. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Do the hey.
Yeah, you can't really see it, but he's going. Joe, not Italian enough. I need
more Italian, Joe.
I need more gabagool. I need more.
All right, goodbye, everyone. See you guys all later.
Yeah. Bye,
Bye.
We have no money, but lots of manja.